A scorpion can stand in the exact spot for 6 hours. It's not hunting. It's not hiding. Just armed. It's carrying a weapon it hasn't used in ages and might not use anytime soon. Everything about its body screams danger, but it hardly ever has to prove it. And yet here you are, staring at this little tank, thinking, yeah, this one is for me. But what is a scorpion, and what does it mean to keep something venomous on purpose? Is the sting really as dangerous as we think? Is it as low maintenance as people claim? And is it actually a pet, or just something you own to say you're not afraid of it? Or is it something else? Something about an animal that survived every mass extinction the planet ever threw at it, sitting quietly in a glass box on a dresser. Let's start with the basics. What exactly is a scorpion? These creatures have stalked the land for about 430 million years. That's long before insects ever had wings, before trees appeared, and way before anything with a backbone even thought about leaving the water. If you dig up a fossil scorpion from back then, you'd spot those famous pincers and curled tail in a heartbeat. The whole shape, the scorpion's blueprint really, was pretty much set while the rest of life was just getting started. This isn't just some fun fact to sell you on them. It's the real reason people talk about scorpions not as regular pets, but almost like tiny living fossils you can watch up close. You're not just bringing home an animal, you're playing host to a survivor that's outlived almost everything. And to make it that far, to hang around for nearly 500 million years, a scorpion had to become a very particular kind of creature. This kind of staying power doesn't come from blinding speed or showy tricks. And it's definitely not about changing with the times like some animals do. Scorpions made it by being ruthless models of efficiency, and that efficiency is exactly what makes them work as captive animals. Scorpions have one of the lowest metabolic rates of any land animal ever measured. That's how some can go a whole year without a meal. A scorpion doesn't burn calories looking for food. It lets the food walk close enough, and when it does, boom. They strike in a flash and it's over. So it makes sense that as pets, they ask for almost nothing. No walks around the block, no daily meals. Most people toss in a cricket once or twice a week, maybe less. As for water, half the time they soak it up from the damp dirt instead of drinking from a bowl. These animals are basically tailored by evolution for people who don't have a ton of time or energy to spare. But there's a flip side. Scorpions don't do much, and that's the deal you make. The whole relationship isn't about playing, cuddling, or interacting at all. It's about watching. You're just sharing space with a tiny, ancient monster, doing what it's always done. Almost nothing. Understanding the animal is just a starting point. The rest comes down to what you create for it. And most people new to scorpions don't realize how precise that setup needs to be. It's not as simple as tossing a scorpion in a box with some sand and calling it a day. These animals need a temperature gradient, mid-70s to mid-80s Fahrenheit, so they can pick the warmth they want and avoid overheating or getting too cold. For species that burrow, you need 4 to 6 inches substrate depth. If you give barely enough, your scorpion ends up restlessly scraping away on the surface, clearly frustrated and unable to do what instinct drives it to do. Humidity swings wildly depending on the species. Desert scorpions kept too damp become breeding grounds for all sorts of deadly fungi, while rainforest scorpions need steady moisture. Too dry and they'll slowly dehydrate. The wildest part? You might look at 2 care guides and see completely opposite instructions, even though both animals look pretty much the same to most folks. Scorpions can climb and dig with alarming talent. What seems escape-proof to you often isn't for them, so that enclosure better be rock solid. So really, the enclosure isn't just a fancy box. It's a carefully balanced life support system tuned to one species' quirks. Miss a single detail, and your scorpion's life gets cut short, sometimes by years. When you actually add up the numbers, this hobby doesn't really fit its cheap starter pet reputation. The animal itself, honestly, that's usually the least expensive part. You can pick up a basic beginner species for 20 to 60 bucks easy. But setting them up, that's where the real money goes. The enclosure, heat lamps or mats, bedding, hides, all that can cost you several times more than the animal itself. And here's the kicker. You only get one good shot at it. If you mess up the setup, redoing everything just stresses out the animal, so you've got to get it right from day one. After your setup, the regular expenses aren't bad at all. Feeder insects don't cost much, and with the animal's slow metabolism, you can stretch one bulk order out for weeks. But there are hidden hassles that don't show up on your credit card statement. Finding a steady supply of feeders, keeping a backup heat source for power outages, and if you ever want to leave town, good luck convincing a friend to come by. People think it's so simple, there's nothing to do, but somehow that makes it harder to ask or for them to remember. So it's not really a cheap pet. It's a pet with low day-to-day costs, sure, but only after you cough up for the right setup before your new buddy ever sets foot in your house. There's one part of scorpion care that keepers watch more nervously than almost anything else: the molt. Since a scorpion's exoskeleton can't stretch, growing means splitting open the old shell and crawling out. Legs and pinchers and even parts of the digestive tract all slipping free in one big effort. They go through this 5 to 7 times before adulthood, and each time they don't just get a little bigger, they take a real leap in size. Not that slow, steady growth you see in most pet lizards or snakes. Right after a molt, for close to a day, the scorpion might as well be naked. The new shell is soft, almost see-through, and nowhere near hard enough to protect it, or even let it sting properly. Out in the wild, that makes a molting scorpion basically a sitting duck, even for its own kind. So keepers get careful. They stop feeding as the molt approaches. Look for the indicators, like a swollen, dull body, sluggish movements, maybe the scorpion going on a hunger strike for a week. When the molting starts, they just leave the animal alone. You can't rush the process, and it can take hours, sometimes days, depending on the type and size of the scorpion. This is the most fragile moment in a scorpion's whole life, and strangely enough, keepers always call it the most human moment to witness. For an instant, an animal that spends all its time armored and ready to fight has nothing but vulnerability. And then there's the timescale of the relationship itself. It really depends on the species, but most pet scorpions stick around for 4 or 5 years, and some emperor scorpions have managed to clock over 10 years in captivity. In the wild, certain desert species are rumored to hit 25 years or more, though you won't see lifespans like that very often among the scorpions people actually keep. All of this longevity really comes down to how slow a scorpion's metabolism is. They barely burn energy, and if you're hardly using fuel, your body just doesn't wear out as quickly. Their cells don't replace themselves as often, tissues turn over at a snail's pace, and the whole animal hums along in a sort of durable, low-power mode. Fast metabolism pets burn bright and flame out. Scorpions just keep on going. The very thing that makes them so easy to feed is what turns them from a quick curiosity into a decade-long project. They aren't just here for a season, they're in it for the long run. Not every scorpion in someone's collection ends up there for the same reason or by the same path. A lot of pet scorpions, especially emperor scorpions, start as wild animals hauled in from West Africa. People catch them in the wild because breeding them in captivity is a pain. They grow slow and they don't lay a ton of eggs. Farming them at scale just doesn't really work. But captive-bred scorpions are usually healthier, less stressed, and they don't take a bite out of wild populations. Wild-caught ones cost less, but they're often more anxious and, honestly, you have no clue if taking them hurt the species in the wild. Now, about the sting, people think it's some ER-worthy event. Not with most pet species. You'll get something that's uncomfortable, sure, like a nasty bee sting, but nothing life-threatening. The scorpion is an animal that spent almost 500 million years getting better at not attacking. It just sits, glowing faintly under your flashlight, calm and steady. Owning a scorpion isn't about proving you're fearless. It's about proving you have the patience to appreciate a creature that's made an art of waiting. So why does anyone keep an animal built almost entirely out of weapons? Because most of those weapons were never meant to be used. Just a survivor, holding still. If you want more of this, subscribe. There is a lot to find in the tiny life right next to you.